Good evening and welcome to another episode of HC Highlanders Live. I'm Jason Muker, Associate AD for Compliance and Communication, joined as always by our Athletic Director, Matthew Webb. Beautiful fall day looking out our window here in my office. Got soccer practice going on. Some of the other teams enjoying some fall weather here in Western New York practicing. Excitement of two more of our teams at the end of last week started practicing. Actually, we had our lacrosse team started earlier in the week, and then at the end of the week, some winter sports, men's and women's basketball, got to roll the balls out a little bit and do some of their preparations for a spring season, and we can talk a little bit about that. The administrative team here in the athletic department met a little bit last week to look at what the spring is going to look like. It's going to be packed with events, tentatively right now with winter sports, fall sports, spring sports, and we were trying to figure out how do we cover all this. It's going to be logistical, fun puzzle, putting it all together. How we're going to staff it and man it. We hope our fans are going to join us through online a little bit, and we'll see, hey, can we get some fans here in the stands? A lot of things we have to look at as it pertains to COVID and safety issues and what it means for scheduling and practices and with all of our teams going at once. So Matt could talk a little bit about that, and then he'll introduce our guests for this evening. So enjoy.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So like Jason said, not that it hasn't been on our brain already, but we've started to meet, and it will be probably much more of a regular thing now as we get into finalizing plans for the spring. We've got most of the schedules for the most part finalized in terms of what we know. And so now we've got to put together our travel plans, practice plans. How do we get everyone on the fields and courts as they need to in preparation for their games and seasons. And the blessing that we have, as I shared with the coaches last week, particularly in this time, I'm thankful for the facilities that we have. And it's going to be crunched. It's going to be tight. It's going to be complicated, to say the least, to get everything in. But we are blessed with great facilities, much better than a lot of places. And so at least it's possible to sort of get things to work. And so that's what we're working toward for the spring. We continue to get new information from the NCAA in terms of sort of suggested guidelines on how to make things work relative to testing and just protocols for playing games, both outdoors and indoors. And so we continue to just assimilate all of that information as we prepare for the spring. So tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce two of our basketball players, one from the men's team, one from the women's team. So we've got Emie Taylor, is a junior this year from the women's basketball team, and then Billy McCrae in his second year as a sophomore here with the men's program. So welcome, Emie and Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. So let's start. I'm going to just speak to both of you. You started just last week was your first practice on the 1st, so that was Thursday, I think. Maybe Emie, just start us off, and then Billy, you can follow with sort of what was the first practice like? How was it to get back in the gym, be on the court, with your teammates, and get rolling again? What was it like?
It was definitely interesting. I mean, I was excited to get on the court. I didn't play competitively, with other people in a long time because of COVID. And so it was definitely, there was some excitement there. But obviously we had new coaching staff also. And so there was kind of like, ooh, what's going to happen on the first day of practice kind of thing. So there was that there, but it was definitely a good practice, good experience. Everyone looked forward to it. And I was very pleased with the rest of my teammates. We came 110% ready. Like, it was unbelievable for the first practice, even though, we don't know what's looking ahead for us in the future, kind of thing. And so it was definitely a very good practice, very intense, different kind of style. So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. And for Billy and the men's team?
We didn't go through a coaching change this summer, but we added 15 or 16 kids. So, just being able to get back on the floor with the returners and then working in all these new guys. Like, we have so many kids, we have to go 2 practices a day. So, I mean, it's definitely interesting, especially with the masks and not being able to go through contact stuff yet. But, I mean, it's still exciting. We're really ready to build on what happened last year. So, yeah.
Very good. I know the first day is always exciting, maybe a little bit of apprehension and anxiety, particularly for you, Emie, with a new coach. You never know what the style is going to be like, what the coach is going to expect. But now that you're out there, probably getting into the routine, getting used to Coach Pellegrino and his style compared to Coach Winkler's, you're getting the hang of it. So, yeah, I was able to get into both of your practices. I think the men I got in on Thursday, we're doing a defensive session. I'm trying to remember, Billy, if you were in that group.
7:30 a.m.
I think I saw you in the group that I was at, and doing some defensive footwork and a lot of yelling and screaming and some high energy. And Emie, when I got in to see you, you guys were doing some shooting drills just at baskets. So yeah, it was fun to see everybody out there and getting back at it. So why don't we back up a few years prior and start with you, Emie. Talk to us a little bit about sort of where you're from, how you heard about Houghton, and why you chose to come to Houghton to study and play basketball.
Okay. So usually when people ask me that, like where I'm from, I find it like a 2-part answer, because I'll say I'm from Franklinville, New York, because that's where I've lived for the last 7 years, but I'm originally from Ghana in West Africa. And so, you just never know what people are actually looking for. So I've lived in New York for like I said, the last 7 years with the host family. And, it's been a great experience moving here, leaving my mom behind at home kind of thing. So it was definitely a new experience. But I was also lucky because my brother was here and he was living with the same host family. And so that kind of gave me some sense of home and comfort coming here. And like I said, Franklinville, New York, that's only like 25 minutes away from Houghton, something like that. And so I guess I've always known Houghton. My host dad worked here at some point. My host mom went here. Like, there's just so many Houghton connections from here. So I knew of Houghton and also basketball camps and, stuff like that. So I had heard of Houghton and been around campus and knew some people that were over here also. And in terms of coming to Houghton, so I got recruited by the previous basketball coach, Coach Muker. And so that was one of the main reasons why I came here. And it was also close to home. And so, I didn't want to go too far from home kind of thing. I'm a homebody. So I decided to come to Houghton, and, they were very strong with their recruiting skills and whatnot. And so that's how I ended up here.
Very good. Very good. And Billy, how about you?
So I'm originally from Washington Township, New Jersey, which is about 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia. It's about 6 hours from Houghton. So, I mean, I don't have the connections that Emie has to Houghton for sure. I think one person from my hometown has known what Houghton is because she's a grad. And the only other connection I have right now is one of my high school teammates' cousins goes here right now. So I'd never heard of Houghton before Coach McMullen. He's the coach that recruited me. I mean, originally, it was a nice conversation. He was one of the first coaches that recruited me. He took a trip up. I was like, he's nice. It's going to be a good time. And then he just didn't give up. I think overall he took the 6-hour drive 6 or 7 times to come watch me play, or to even just come watch workouts that I was hosting. And I mean, you can't really say no to that. And then I visited. I loved it here. I stayed with Jordan and Scotty. Jordan destroyed me in 2K. That was my biggest. That was my biggest issue with my recruiting visit, was that Jordan literally beat me by 40 in 2K. But other than that, I loved it here. I mean, I pretty much knew right away that's where I was going to come. I just remember calling Coach McMullen, and he was like, I think he literally got up. All of his kids were asleep, and he got up in the middle of the night and just started screaming, "Yes, yes, 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 yes." So yeah, that's my recruiting story.
From a coach's perspective, Billy, when you spend that kind of time investing in a player and they say yes, that's a response that I understand. I did that a lot. I recruited for a lot of years when I was coaching, and it's equally as disappointing when they say no.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot too. But that's good to hear. So Billy, we'll stick with you here for a second, and then Emie, we'll come back to you. Tell us a little bit about the PB&J club that you started at Houghton, and I know its origins go back to what you were doing back home in New Jersey, and I don't know what's happening now. Probably with COVID, that's maybe put a pause on that. But why don't you tell us what that is and sort of how that started?
Okay, so when I was in 5th grade, my best friend, who actually ended up moving eventually, but both of his parents got laid off in like a matter of about 2 weeks. And they were really struggling for the next couple months after that. And one of my best friend's favorite foods was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And they just didn't have enough money to give him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch. They couldn't give him 3 meals a day. So we went to my church in 5th grade, and we just started that. And it was supposed to be like really small, and it kind of it kept going. It's still running, actually. I'm not running it at home, but it's still running. This is its 9th year in New Jersey. It's donated over 35,000 sandwiches, something like that. Our one here that we started last year, our goal was 7,000, but we only got to 5,000 because we got cut short when we got sent home. But yeah, I mean, the response here has been great. We have 15 to 18 volunteers every week. Emie's come a couple times. My teammates come. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I heard a lot about that when Coach McMullen, the previous coach, when he was recruiting you, and then knowing that you started it up here at Houghton last year for sort of a similar ministry was really neat to hear. So, Emie, talk to us about a little transition, but talk to us about your summer. You went to North Dakota this summer. Not typically a destination spot for people from Houghton to go to North Dakota, but tell us how that happened, what you did, what was your summer like?
Okay, so yeah, North Dakota is definitely a state that you wouldn't think of going to for sure. So basically after school got out, we went home, finished school online, or classes online and whatnot. And then, I needed to find a summer job. And the previous summer I'd worked in a summer camp, and those didn't look promising this summer. And so I'd applied to a couple, and I'd gotten answers, but it was kind of like up in the air kind of thing, and I was like, well, I might as well just apply to a bunch of jobs because, as a college student, you need to make money to pay your bills and stuff. And so I remember, I think I probably applied to no joke, 100 jobs this summer. I went on Indeed.com and I had my resume and I just put it out there kind of thing. And I was like, I'll take anything at this point. It doesn't really matter. And so I remember one day I was talking with my mom on the phone. This was in May. And I was like, I've been looking for jobs and things just don't seem like they're going to be open. And, I was really down and whatnot. And my mom's this huge, Christian, she's the kind of person that just always says, just pray to God, leave everything in his hands kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, I'll give it a few more weeks, see what we got kind of thing. And then that evening, after I got off the phone with her, I get a call from this guy and he's like, hey, so we got your application, whatnot, and we're interested in hiring you. And I was like, oh, okay. What job is this? Where are you guys located or whatnot? And he's like, we're located in Medora, and it was a job to work in a restaurant to cook. And I love to cook. And so I was like, whoa, that is so awesome. And so we talked and I was like, yeah, I'll take the job, whatever. And so then I talked to my host family about it and my mom and whatnot. And people were a little like skeptical about the place because no one had heard of Medora and North Dakota before, and I hadn't heard of it, And it's like a 23-hour drive kind of thing, so it's pretty far from home. And but eventually I was like, I'll take the job, and worst case scenario, I come back home if I hate it, kind of thing. And then I went there, started out with a restaurant, worked 15-hour shifts, no breaks. Like, it was crazy the amount of hours that I was working. And it was fun. There was fun parts to it, but it was definitely tough. Like, restaurant jobs are not easy at all. And for someone like, I want to open my own restaurant, and so it was definitely like a great experience to like see what to do and what not to do, kind of thing. And then eventually, like halfway through, I ended up getting like 2 other jobs in the Medora. It's like this cute little town, so cute, kind of like Houghton, but a little bit smaller. And like,
Smaller than
I
Houghton?
got these smaller than Houghton, yes.
Wow.
There's probably like 4 total streets in the whole place. Like, it was pretty small. And so like I ended up taking 2 other jobs and whatnot, and spend the rest of the summer there. And I met like really cool people. I made friends with these Fijians, actually, not Haitians, Fijians. And it was just a really cool experience. And I found this cool small Christian group. I think I forget what it's called, like AMNCP, something like it's like a Christian organization for national parks, something like that. And so like I made friends with them, and would have bonfires, play the guitar, sing, kind of thing. So it was kind of like a fun place. Yeah, look at that, 112 people. Like, it's a really, really small town. But the craziest thing was on the weekends, that's when everyone comes to tourist town, because it's a tourist attraction for the Roosevelt National Park. And so we would have like a ton of people. Like, the streets are packed with people, and stuff. And so it got way busier on the weekends. But overall, it's definitely a great experience, and I would do it over again if I got the chance. Like, yeah.
That's very cool. So
yeah.
two follow-up questions, and then Billy, we'll move to you for a second. What kind of food did you cook? And when you open your own restaurant, what kind of restaurant is that going to be?
That's a good question. Okay, so the restaurant, there was like, it was kind of like a cowboy town, if that makes sense. And so it was basically like burgers and stuff like that, but we had like bison burgers, elk burgers, and that stuff is actually really good, surprisingly. And then there's just like a bunch of like other like different kinds of steaks and all that kind of stuff. But the most popular thing was like the bison meats and elk meats, and that's what drew people in. And then their appetizers were phenomenal, like good stuff. So yeah, that's what we made. And then honestly, I like to cook just about anything, and so I'm not really sure what kind of restaurant I want to open, but a couple of my friends have actually said they could see me opening like a diner kind of thing. So that's an option right there.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a good option for me, I think.
Well, it sounds like good experience and a good summer, and not a typical summer for a Houghton student. So, well, Billy, I'm going to talk basketball for a second with you. You guys have a huge roster. Coach Westberg brought in a whole lot of new players. Talk to me about sort of the excitement of that. I would imagine, I know you guys can't do contact and practice yet, but I would imagine sort of the competition level is going to increase. A lot of new guys, they want to play. Talk to me about sort of the culture and the environment of practice and the team, and how's that all working out so far?
I mean, you can definitely feel the increased pressure of the roster size, just because nobody comes to play college basketball to sit on the bench. That's not anyone's goal. So everyone is fighting for minutes. Everyone's fighting to play. Like, we brought in so many kids. I started as a freshman. My role is still not set in stone. I'm not guaranteed minutes. I still have to go out there and fight for everything. But I mean, it's going to make practices more interesting once we can do contact stuff. It's going to make practices more entertaining, more exciting, stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for sure, especially with the masks and the social distancing right now. And then when we come back, we're pretty much jumping right into a season. So it's going to be tough for the coaches to narrow down what exactly they want, and we're going to have to like do our best to separate ourselves.
Yeah, well, your job as players to help the coaches make that decision, right? And if everyone's working their hardest, it makes the decision for the coaches hard. So, so what are the goals? What are the expectations for the team? I know, last year wasn't a ton of wins, but I do think sort of more competitive. So what are the hopes and goals for the team this year?
I mean, we've got two seniors that have been around forever. They both
just 3 years, bro. It's not that long.
To me, it's forever. But I mean, both of them really want to win. Both of them. I mean, they have 10 wins throughout their 3 years so far. So I mean, we haven't been overly competitive in a while. So I mean, all the returners are committed to going out and having a very good season this year, and all the new guys. A lot of them come from winning backgrounds. A lot of them haven't had losing seasons in a while. So everyone is definitely trying. Like, we're definitely motivated to go out and win games this year. We played a tough conference, but we played a couple teams close last year. I think we can go out and beat this year. We actually had a very good conference season last year, except we kind of tailed off towards the end. But we have played a really good 5 or 6 games in the middle where we looked like we could actually go out and make the tournament and do something like that. So I think our goal this year is we're gonna try and make the tournament, and we're gonna see what happens from there.
Well, I know one of the games was at Alfred, where you had the game won,
and then
they scored. I want to say they scored 10 minutes in the last minute, 10 points in the last minute of the game, I think, to tie it. And then, did we have a couple guys even foul out? I can't remember.
Me and Jordan both fouled out.
You and Jordan both fouled out, and then we won. And it's like 2 of our starters fouled out, and then we won in overtime. That was a fun game. So I'm going to jump over to you, Emie.
Made the tournament the year before.
Yeah, they won the conference the year before. Yeah. So they were the reigning conference champs. So yeah, that was a great win. So Emie, let's talk basketball a little bit, and we're going to end up at last year's St. John Fisher game because that one was a memorable game. But before we get to that, let's talk about just sort of your perspective and what are the Coach Pellegrino's new and Coach Ballman, his assistant, is new. What are the expectations they have, and what are your hopes and sort of goals for the women's basketball team this year? What are your expectations?
So I think like from what they've told us and what I can tell, like all they want us to do is come every day to practice, giving it our all. It doesn't matter if you're struggling like somewhere, like, mentally, emotionally, like whatever it is, like once you get on the court, be ready, be 100% there, ready to compete, giving it your all. And I think that's a great way to or a great thing to expect from us. And I think like our team, we do that. And our first practice, like I said, was definitely something that you could tell that we came in prepared and whatnot. And so hopefully we keep that up. Team wise, obviously, like we have a goal of, getting to the E8s, and once we make it in the tournament, anything can happen, but just the fact that we have the potential to make it there, I think. And so, it'd be really cool to see us all, work together as one team, not just as individuals of a team kind of thing, and get there and, show that we're not the underdogs. Because I think Houghton kind of has that mentality that, we're kind of like the underdogs and whatnot. And we just need to pull under from that rock and, just show them who we really are. And, hopefully we win the tournament. Like that's everyone's hopes, obviously. So,
well, I think you're right. It's something I've spoken to both of your coaches about is sort of what people expect from Houghton in basketball, and I don't think we're typically considered a threat. And I look at what both teams did last year, and yeah, didn't have a great winning record. But the men, you beat Alfred, who were the last year's champions. Emie, like you guys beat St. John Fisher up at St. John Fisher. I'm trying to remember if they won the conference last year. They were at least one of the top 14. Yeah, they won the conference. So we beat them. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Corey hit that last second shot. Got the offensive rebound, put it back in. So I look at our teams and I think, there's no reason we can't be more competitive and start taking people by surprise. And then hopefully in a year or two, it's no longer a surprise, right? I mean, that's what we want Houghton basketball to become. And I see that trajectory, happening. And I mean, actually on the women's side, it wasn't too many years ago. We were in the playoffs and I think just maybe, I'm trying to think if it was the year before you came, Emie, or maybe the year before that.
Yeah, it was the year before I came.
Just the year before you came, I think was the year they made the tournament. And so, I mean, it was just 2-3 years ago. And on the men's side, I don't think there's any reason, that we can't be more competitive and start challenging for, playoffs and winning a conference championship. I think those are goals we want to have. So I'm excited to see what happens, but obviously both programs, relatively new coaches. Men's team, Coach Westberg in his second year, and then the women's team, Coach Pellegrino, first year, and some new faces, new players, and looking forward to seeing what happens this spring. So, well, thank you, Emie. Thanks, Billy, for being with us tonight, and happy studying this evening.
Thank you.